Okay, so what did we discuss in the flows last class?
We saw about Picklist choice set, record choice set, and choice.
Yeah, all the choice that we have seen.
Yeah.
Right now, today we'll see how to call another flow. Basically, how to call the subflow. How to call a subflow. Okay, so I have a flow, which is a main flow. This is a main flow. In the main flow, what I'm doing is I'm creating the contact record. I'm creating the new contact. I'm creating the new contact. Just a second. Okay, so in the main flow, I have a new contact where we are entering certain information, right? Let's assume that I have a first name and I have a last name and a couple of other information is there. For the contact, last name is mandatory. Last name is mandatory, right? So last name is mandatory. Whenever this last name is user did not enter this last name. So what I wanted to throw an error message to the user saying that this last name mandatory field which is missing. So in the real time, how do we do it is we create a separate flow. This separate flow is a separate flow. This flow is for error handling. This flow is for error handling. So this is a generic flow. This is a generic flow. This generic flow is for error handling. We show a message from the screen. We'll show certain messages like a last name is mandatory. Last name is mandatory. and which is missing. So we'll say this information from this flow. And this generic flow, whatever error handling flow is there, we can call it from n number of flows. It doesn't matter from where I'm calling it. I can call it from anybody. I can call from this, whatever the new contact flow is there, or I can call it from multiple flows. We can call the error handling flow. So what is this called? This is basically I'm calling the subflow. I'm calling the subflow inside the main flow. But while calling the subflow, I need to pass what is the error that is happening on the main flow. I need to pass a variable saying that which field is missing, which field is missing. So that information I need to pass it to the subflow. Otherwise, how the subflow will know what error message should show? Right now it is saying that last name is mandatory, but how this flow knows that what is missing in the main flow? So while calling the subflow, it is the main flow is going to communicate with the another flow saying that, okay, these are the information that is missing, or these are the information that I want you to pass. So it will pass from main flow to the generic flow. It's not only the error handling. If you have any other flow, if you want to pass the contact ID to the another flow, we have another generic flow, which is going to, let's say that creating a record. Okay, we have a flow which is implemented just for the create any type of a record. So what I'll do is I'll just pass the certain information to that flow. So that flow is capable of taking care of. Based on the input, it will show the output. So this is what we are going to do it right now. So which this main flow is, I'm going to implement in screen flow. This is a screen flow, and error handling is also a screen flow. Right? So now tell me, what is my business scenario? What is my business scenario?
Like throw error message when whenever the last name in the contact object is not filled out.
While creating the contact, if a valid or if a mandatory field is missing, then show a message to the user with a valid information. So business scenario is we have written similar like a high level requirement. For micro level requirement, what do we have to do?
Identify object.
Object, which object right now we are looking for?
Contact.
Contact. Okay. Next. What do we have to do?
A condition.
Sorry?
Condition.
Conditions. What conditions?
Like if last name is null.
Before that, what do we have to do?
Which are the fields are necessary?
Sorry?
Fields, which fields we have to take that?
Build the screen. To show a first name, last name, let's say email. Now, what should be the next one?
Create contact record.
Create contact record. And the fourth one?
Activated.
Decision for if create a record is created and if record is not created. No.
If it is fails, then what we have to do?
Then we have to make another flow.
So I need to create another flow, which is a subflow. What do we have to do in another flow? What do we have to do in another flow?
That error handling message will be there. Screen for the error handling.
Error screen we have to implement. Okay. Now this is done. Now what is the fourth one? For the first flow, what is the fourth one?
Call the subflow inside that flow.
Call the subflow. Yes, but where do we call it?
In decision if it yes record is sorry it's not created, then
Call the subflow if it fails while creating the record. While creating the record. Clear, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so first what I'll do is I'll create a subflow. Right, the subflow is just basically implementing the error handling screen. Now let me go ahead and go to the flows. Flows. So inside this flows, click on a new flow and click on screen flow, create. Now, what is the next thing that I need to do here? We have created the screen flow. Right now we are talking about subflow. Okay, so which component do I need to take in the subflow?
in an interaction there is a subflow.
No, I'm building the subflow. Okay.
Okay.
I'm building the subflow. What is the what needs to be happen on the subflow?
Screen component, like we are building a screen.
Screen component. So let's get the, what are we displaying here? Just a text message. We are displaying it. So display text. So let's say that this is an error message. Right. Now inside this error message, I wanted to create a variable to capture the information, because I need to display something here. In order to display the something here, what I need a resource where I need to create a variable. What is this variable? Variable is just a message where the main flow is passing it. Right? This is the text and available for input. Now, whatever the message is passed from the higher or the parent, it is going to display here. whatever the message is passed from the parent, it is going to display here. Let's give here the message. Label name is, let's say, error screen. Perfect. Let's save this. Error handling. Okay, let's save. Done. We are done with the second flow. Are we done with this flow? Are we done with this flow?
No,
Yes.
we didn't specify the condition. Did we?
Which condition do we have to specify?
The last name is mandatory.
Last name is mandatory. But here we have taken as a dynamic message, because I don't know which message do I need to display. This screen flow doesn't know how this last name is coming. It is going to pass from the main flow.
Okay.
Main flow is going to tell the message to this flow saying that, okay, this information is missing, so show only this information. In case if the email ID is incorrect, then it will, main flow is going to send a information to the subflow. My email ID is incorrect, so this is the message. So take that variable information. So if I say last name is not mandatory, then what will happen if email is missing?
Okay.
Always it shows the last name is missing hard-coded value. But I do not want to show every time last name is missing. In case I have an incorrect email address format or incorrect phone number, then I wanted to display those messages. I do not want to display the last name.
Okay. Okay.
So done. So is it activated? Yeah, I have activated it. Now let me go to the flows, click on a new flow. Now we are coming to the main flow. Inside the main flow, what do we have to do inside the main flow?
You have to create a new contact with a few fields.
Okay, so before new contact, what is the first step?
Screen flow.
Screen flow. And then we need a screen. Now, what are the information I need? Let's assume that I need a name. Okay, I need email. Right, I think these three fields are fine. Okay, so right now I'll change this name as name. Name and email, we'll change email. And the label name here, let's keep the label name as contact screen. Perfect, let's click on done. Now my contact screen is done. We have given the name and email we have taken. Right, what is the next screen that we need to do?
Create contact.
Create contact. Create a record.
Create record.
So it will be a create contact. Perfect. So one record I wanted to create, and then the next one is use all values from the record. Use separated values. We have a separate values. So I'll take a contact. Right, we have a last name. Right, and we have a first name. And we have an email. Okay. So last name, from where am I taking it?
From contact object.
Yeah, contact object last name.
Okay.
From where should I need to
From
take?
the screen component name.
Name dot last name.
Last name.
Here, first
Name
name.
dot first name.
Name dot first name. And the email, we have an email.
Email.
Email
Value.
value, right? Email value. Now done. Now my contact is created. Now what is the next step?
Call the subflow if there is an error. So
There
we
is
have to
an
create
error.
a fault message, add fault path.
Add fault method, and then we are going to call subflow. Now in this case, what is our subflow?
Error.
Error handling.
Yeah.
Right? Error handling is the subflow that we are calling it.
Yeah.
Now here we have to give the label. Let's say that show error. Now description is fine. Now this is the message which is expecting input variable. So what I'll do is here I'll pass a flow dot. We have a global variable which is called as a flow. Flow dot fault text message. Fault message. So what I'm doing it while calling the subflow, I'm passing a variable. What is the variable that I'm passing? The one which is expected here, the variable. The subflow is expecting a variable which is called as a message. So I'm passing the message while calling the subflow. Right? Now let me go ahead and save this. Contact error handling. Let's click on a save. Just a heads up, what is that? There is an issue, do not prevent action, but cannot cause a problem. The reference to flow error handling has no active version. Okay, it's not active. Okay, activated. Okay. Now let's say save as. Version 2. Now the error gone. Perfect. So whenever we are calling the subflow, make sure the other flow is active. If it is not active, we cannot debug it or we cannot use that. Now let's go ahead and click on debug. Click on run. Now we have a first name, last name, email. Right? Whenever I give the first name, njoin@gmail.com. This is works fine. There should not be any error. Run again. Now I'll give a first name, but I'll not give a last name. Then I'll say n@gmail.com. So what is happening right now? Right now, last name is missing. For contact to create, last name is mandatory. Right? So if I go to the contact, and if I'm trying to create new one. So I'll say I'll not. So this is a mandatory field, complete this field, right? Without this field, I cannot save this. Now I'm not entering the last name, I'll click on next. What happened? It called the subflow. It called the subflow, which is called as the show error. From the show error, what we did, input, we passed the input message flow.fault message. What is the fault message? This error occurred. When the flow try to create a record, required field is missing. What is the required field? Last name. So this is more meaningful message to the user. What is the value it is missing? Okay, so you are saying that last name is missing. So okay, I'll go ahead and create another one. I'll give the last name, but what I'll do is I'll give incorrect email ID. Incorrect email ID. Let's say that c@IM. So let's click on next. Now it called the subflow. Now what is the error message it is giving? While creating the record, invalid email address. So where is the invalid email address? Email is the field, which is invalid email address. What is the invalid? C@in dot. Right? That is the invalid message which is given. So now I can call this subflow from anywhere. From anywhere I can call this subflow and I can pass the fault message. Fine. So usually we do this in the real time. We create a error handling flow as a separate, and then we will call that error handling flow from main flow.
For the dynamic message, what you have to?
For the dynamic message, let me show you. Right now I'm missing the information. So how am I passing the dynamic message? The message equal to flow.fault message. From where am I passing this message? I'm passing it from the main flow. How I'm passing it? Whenever I call the subflow, I'm passing the message flow.fault message. So the fault message, it will take the message and it will display that.
Can you repeat once again?
So we have a error handling flow, right? So inside the error handling flow, what do we have? We have created a new resource. What is a new resource? Resource is a variable, which is message. And what is this variable message? It is expecting the input value. This message is expecting the input value. So whoever is calling this error handling subflow, error handling flow, they have to pass this message because it is expecting the variable. It's kind of an input parameter. There is a parameter which is expected by this flow. So what I'll do while I'm calling this, while calling the subflow, we are passing the flow.fault message. Because we are in the fault, so I'm passing the fault message. In the message, I'm passing the fault message. That message is taken here. So it will take the message and it will display the message in here. Like that, what you can do is you can create a separate flow, kind of a, for example, thank you screen. Okay, you can implement a thank you screen or create a new records. For whatever the record you pass it, it will create a new record. Or if you have another flow, like if you have a business flow, for the business flow, you can divide the flow which is common. Let's suppose the life cycle, opportunity life cycle. Opportunity life cycle is common for any opportunity record. So you can create that here as a separate flow, and you can call whenever the condition is meeting that, then you can call the subflow here.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, in chat we have one question.
when to create a new sales and when to not. This time I might call the error handling flow. What is this? Okay, whenever I may select the available per input at this time, I may call the error handling flow. So basically input is nothing but, so we have a two values here, two checkboxes. Whenever we create a new variable, that is expected. Whenever we create a new variable, let's say new resource variable, and let's give the data type text. So, okay. So whenever we create a variable, this is expected. Basically, this is if you are expecting any input parameter for this resource. Let's take an example. In order to debug the flow, you need a record ID. You need an 18-digit record ID because that flow is expecting a record ID. The flow is expecting the record ID. So what I'll do, I'll create a record ID. Because based on this record ID, I wanted to do further step. So what is this? This is expecting the input. In order to start anything, I'm expecting the record ID. And also, if I say available for output, I wanted to pass this record ID to others also. So you can say available for output. What is the input parameter? What is the output parameter? And next, when to create a resource. Whenever you feel that you wanted to print a dynamic message or you wanted to take a complete record and you wanted to store into one variable. Data type record. Okay. So I wanted to store all these records into one variable. It's you decided based on your decision. So I wanted to store all the information in one variable called some variable name, give the name and record, or if you wanted to store the currency, or if you wanted to store the picklist values or date, time, whatever information is there, you can create for that. Basically, a resource is like creating a new variable. In program, we say integer a equal to 5, right? We declare or we initialize a variable. Similar, like you are going to create a separate container using the new resource. What is that container? You can create a container of variable, container of constant, container of formula, container of text template, container of choice, container of collection, choice set, record, whatever the container is required. So you are going to create a separate container and store some information into that container. So this is resource type is, it's like if you feel that I need some place to store the information, whatever the output is coming, I need some place to store that information because further in the flow that might be required, or I'm showing that message as a dynamic. So in that case, you can go ahead and create a new resource. Is it clear, Rahul? Okay, so first assignment, same, implement a subflow, implement a subflow to show error message based on the value that is passed by the main flow. So what is the main flow here? Main flow is create account. So look at your account record, check what are the mandatory fields are there. So take those fields. Implement a thank you message or thank you subflow. And call the subflow from the main flow. From the main flow. What is the main flow? Let's say that creating a lead. So as soon as the lead is created successfully, show thank you message. As soon as lead is created. As soon as lead is created. Implement a subflow to create. This is a challenging one for you, to create a new record. And call the subflow. Call it from the main flow. What is the main flow? Create a account and then pass the account ID to subflow. And from the subflow, create contact and create opportunity. Two records has to be created from the subflow. Fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, then thank you all. Any other questions before I log off?
No.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.